What if the stress or avoidance many women feel around money isn't a personal failure, but a sign that we were never taught systems that actually support us? Today's episode is about money, but not in a rigid, overwhelming, or fear based way. We're talking about money as a tool for stability, choice, and peace of mind. This is not about predicting markets or becoming a finance expert. It's about awareness, intention, and building simple systems that quietly support your life in the background. Because when money is aligned, it doesn't demand your energy, it gives back. So come join us. Women's Wellness Authority is a podcast for women who want to come home to themselves, physically, emotionally, and energetically, while exploring grounded, root-level approaches to healing. In each episode, we explore the many layers of wellness through thoughtful conversations with experts, healers, and practitioners, helping you better understand what your body is communicating. This podcast is about empowerment, offering practical tools and wisdom to help you thrive in all areas of your life. Let's rewrite the rules of wellness together, step into your power, reclaim your health, and discover what it means to truly thrive from the inside out. Welcome back to Women's Wellness Authority. I'm your host, Diana Ruszkowski, and today we're stepping into a conversation that so many women want to have, but we're never given permission or language to explore. Money is often framed as stressful, complicated, or something we should avoid until we know more or make more. But the truth is, money is a simple tool, and when women understand how to work with it intentionally, it becomes a source of stability instead of stress. This topic is especially meaningful to me because finance was the backbone of my former career. I spent years working in the financial education sector, helping simplify complex concepts, and I saw firsthand how often women pulled back from learning about money because it felt overwhelming or intimidating. In today's episode, we're talking about how simple systems, mindset shifts, and intentional planning can help women feel more grounded, confident, and protected, especially through life's unpredictable seasons. We'll explore automation, ownership, common money myths women have been taught, planning for children, and how preparation creates resilience during real life challenges. My guest today is Leah Williams, founder of Savvy Financial, a financial planner, entrepreneur, podcaster, mom, and someone whose passion is to help other women grow. Leah's work is deeply personal, shaped by navigating loss, major life transitions, and the realization that true confidence comes from education and ownership. This conversation isn't about perfection or pressure, it's about clarity. Learning how to make money work for you quietly and consistently. So you're not forced to make decisions from fear during hard moments. I'm really excited for this conversation to dive in. So let's get into it, Leah. Thank you so much.
Oh, Diana, it's such a pleasure. You know, I'm one of your biggest raving fans, and it's a pleasure being here with you in the Women's Wellness Authority. And I love how you advocate for women in so many of the areas of their life that are critical. So it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you on the podcast. So I just want to start with a basic question. Why do you think so many women struggle with money? Even when they're responsible, they're capable, they're intentional. Why do you think that is?
I believe it's two primary things. One is the conditioning that we have grown up with and been taught, and what has framed our money stories has come from what we've heard, what our parents taught us, and just what we've seen. And many times those things, not any fault of our parents, they're just doing what their parents taught them. And many of those belief systems are inaccurate. And I think the other side of it is money, things, there's an emotional element to it as well. So a lot of times women are known for shopping and only being the consumer. And sometimes that is a result of a deeper issue that's going on emotionally. And that's how we cope. It's not that buying the thing is bad or shopping is bad, but sometimes it's to cover up either pain or the energetic space and what's really going on. Same thing with anything else, drinking or, just the thing that we use to cope when things are hard. But a lot of it is shaped by what we're told and what we've seen others, how they deal with money and the relationship they have with it. And unfortunately, a lot of it is negative. We've been taught it is a man's thing. Women aren't smart enough to understand the complexities of macro and microeconomics. And this terminology that is projected immediately makes women feel small, insignificant. Oh, that's not for me. I should just hand that off to somebody else. At least that's my perspective on why we are not as proactive in addressing it and learning, because we've been told this is not for you.
Yeah, I mean, financial literacy was not something I grew up with or what was taught really in school as something that's so important. And it's
Mhm.
really the backbone of literally everything. And even when I worked in the finance industry, there were so many times we would talk with college women. They thought like working in this industry meant stock market. And there's so many opportunities that they could have
Mhm.
a career in finance. And so I think there is just so many stipulations and myths about money and also then even careers within that space.
Yes. I will always say I am pro women, but that doesn't mean that I am not for men. I mean, this world would be a terrible place without men.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
acknowledge that. But many industries have focused on men leading the way. And in turn, how information has been shared has always been through the lens of a man. And as we
Right.
both know very well, women understand, perceive information differently. So it is not the fault of women. In fact, that's why there are a lot of us that are big advocates for women in the financial realm, because we know that there's such a big opportunity. In fact, studies have shown a lot of times women are better investing than men. So there is so much good that can come from or as a result of women seeing things through a different lens. And so I feel like that's our job. When a client doesn't understand something, that's on me. It's because I didn't explain it how they best understand. So same thing with financial industry. If information is shared and explained so that it's more conducive to how women think, how we process information, the game changes.
Right.
Now it's
It's not
everything
so
seems to,
intimidating anymore.
yes, completely different story. So that to me is one of the biggest opportunities, is how information is shared, and it can just change how women start to see, oh, I can do this. And then you start going deeper and realizing, why have I always looked at money this way? Why have I always felt like it's never there? It's always leaving me. Why do I not think I can grow it and have it just be a tool, just like any other tool that we have access to? I mean, the health and wellness tools that help you heal from the inside out, same thing. It's just a tool. That's all it is.
So you have a lot of different concepts that we'll kind of talk about throughout this call. One of them was becoming an owner and not just
Mhm.
a consumer or a customer. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yes. So this really goes for men and women, but especially women, because the narrative that we have believed is we are just consumers. We are just spenders. When money comes in, we just spend it and it leaves. So when you think about ownership of assets, for most people, their first big asset they think of as their home. It's a big deal, right? You now own this asset, and yes, you've got to pay the property taxes, and those can change, but nobody can really evict you or tell you have to move. It is yours. And in fact, depending on what real estate market you're in, most of the time it's going to grow in value. So we know that owning assets is a good thing, but how you go about doing that, that's where we can get creative so that you become an owner, whether that's of a business, and then later on down the road, you can sell the business for a value. So it not only gave you income all the years that you owned it, but now it's a real asset you can sell. So thinking about where our money goes and turning it into asset building tools instead of just outflow. So if you knew that some of the money coming in was, to spend on things like we all do, we all have
Mhm.
expenses, but if some of it was intentionally steered towards buying another asset that generated income, that could then buy another asset, and you started this snowball, you move out of and there's nothing wrong with employees. And I'm not saying you have to be a business owner, but the mindset that we've all been trained to have is you get a job, you save, and maybe you'll make it to retirement, as
Mhm.
opposed to, okay, maybe you get a job, maybe you start a business, you create some form of revenue for yourself. And then from that revenue, our job is to buy and build assets to replace us. That's the game, and if you know what the real rules are, then you can accomplish that. But most people don't know the real rules of this game that
I think a lot of women too do manage the bills, know where
Mhm.
they're spending, right? And
Right.
so we'll go to Costco every 2 weeks and I
Mhm.
spend hundreds of dollars, to feed my family.
Yes.
So how in practice can somebody put this into place? A real life example.
Starting small, something that's not a radical life change will help it be sustainable. So that's why like there are different apps like Acorns and things that just allow you to automatically say the second a card gets swiped, you're saving. There's even another app where whatever place you're going, whether you're going to Sephora or Starbucks or wherever, every time you swipe the card, it's buying you a fractional share of the company. So you are spending, but also becoming an owner because now you're building up to owning shares. So to me, it is knowing where your money is going and thinking of it as not a burden to save, but when you see it as I'm an owner and I'm buying assets, this money is still mine. It is not going to taxes. It's not going to just some far off place. It's yours and you can take it anytime you want. But when you look in your purse, sometimes I use this example is open your purse and see all the different products in there. Those are things that we bought from those companies, but we could actually own part of those companies that we were buying products from. So whether it's $50,
You become a consumer and an investor.
yes.
Really? Yeah.
And that's in the easiest forms, traditional stock market, buying shares of publicly traded companies. That is the easiest step in. There's a lot of other layers that we could talk about too, and a lot of them have tax advantages, but that's the easiest way to step into the investment game and becoming an owner of stock. There's very little barrier to entry. Anyone can download an app and buy fractional share. So that's what I would have women especially start with is, you know what? I have a little bit of extra money per week. And maybe you start it on a weekly basis where you say, I'm never going to be the person that says, stop going out to dinner. That's not my job. But it might make you rethink this thing that I bought on Amazon. Did I really want it? Or what if I could own part of that company instead of buy the thing? And you get to decide. That's also something that I try to hone in on is we all have choices. No one is forcing us to do anything. We can spend, fine. We don't have to. A small amount per week or per month that you just start investing. And every woman that has started doing this, whether I'm helping them with it and just showing them some different things that they can buy, everyone has said, oh my gosh, I'm an owner. They're like, I actually own these investments. That's why I say start small because there's a lot of creativity around owning assets. We can talk about real estate and oil and gas and digital assets and so many. Start there because the confidence that comes from that little baby step, we can compound on that.
Yeah. And I mean, if I just think about it, if I'm looking at it like, well, do I really need that thing? Or perhaps I will invest it and that will grow enough to eventually move to something a little bit bigger, right?
It's just a different lens that you start to see everything through and removing the shame, because that's a big one for women. Oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't be buying this. When you're the manager and the controller of your money, you no longer feel shame when you spend because I set this aside for me. There is nothing wrong with this. And I'm also building over here. So it helps this guilt that we always feel, oh, I shouldn't have bought these things. I'll probably return them. We have already allocated that and told this money is going towards this. And I feel great about it. So it changes other things outside of just saving and investing and building confidence in that space. You are the director, of your financial life. And you get to tell money what to do. So it's kind of taking back the control and saying, I dictate how money works for me. It's no longer controlling me as a person.
Just like along those lines, what beliefs do you think keep women disconnected from their financial power? Because I can even think in my head, given what you just said, I could talk myself out of that too. I could say, I don't have any money. I'm not really putting any money aside right now. The last thing I can do is invest, right? And if I had that same mindset 10 years from now, I have no retirement and, then.
Knowing that really small things, just like with any other habit, the tiny choice to alter, it could be $5 a week. I mean, it could be anything that means that you are moving in the right direction. I'm also a big believer that women are born with a lot of gifts and talents, and sometimes we need the courage to lean into those, and that can be a source of income. Because sometimes there is, especially with cost of living, inflation, some people what comes in is exactly what they need, bare minimum. There is no extra. And so I want to acknowledge that because it is just really expensive. Now, I will say some of the things are, needs versus wants. We kind of have to categorize those correctly. So generally there is some flexibility to create savings. It's just a matter of, would I rather spend more now, or would I rather build and create so that I have more in the future? And we get to choose. So there's that. But the other element is sometimes your gifts and talents and things that you were born with can be monetized. And so I think women can also look at that and say, okay, well, currently there's not a lot to save, but I'm going to be resourceful and I'm amazing at this. And so I'm going to start earning $500 a month just doing this. Or look at the assets that you have. Usually it's a home. Usually that's one of the first assets that you can leverage. And well, none of this is financial advice, but leverage is a really important tool when you're building wealth, and every wealthy person uses it. So when you look at the assets that you have access to and leverage that's available, I mean, for me, that was my first big move when I came off divorce, came out of the debt hole and was rebuilding. First thing was get out of debt, save for a house, get the house, borrow against the house to buy an asset, and just keep it moving.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about your story, which I think is really empowering. Do you mind just sharing that really quickly?
Sure. Yeah, well, it shaped how I am now, and I'm so grateful. Now I can say I'm grateful for the pain. 11 years ago,
Yeah.
I don't love this pain. 11 years ago, two really big life things happened within within a few months of each other. One of them was coming off of finally having the courage to leave a really awful, abusive marriage. And part of what gave me that courage was in 2014, my brother was diagnosed with cancer. And I mean, he was early 30s, young, healthy, ate organic, like the picture of health. I was married, had 4 little girls at the time. And then later that year, they had their 5th daughter, and he passed away that same year in December. So seeing that happen, realizing, oh my gosh, life is really short. We don't know how many days we have. And also seeing the impact of his good planning that financially allowed my sister-in-law and their 5 girls. I mean, now my nieces are going to college, and seeing the benefit of what good planning can do, especially in worst case scenarios, things that shouldn't happen. It told me, one, Leah, you better get your stuff together, because you can either be the victim of your life and say, poor me, I married the wrong person, these terrible things happen. Yeah, it's true, but I'm an adult, so I need to take ownership of my life, learn what I need to, rebuild. So those things happening together created this fire to learn, be obsessed with creating financial independence. I knew that I never wanted to be relying on anybody ever again. And I have a wonderful husband, and I love him to death. I have a 3.5-year-old, and I'm so grateful. But if that would have never happened, if Brian had never come into my life, I knew that I was going to make sure I was okay. And every woman needs to feel that. Women live longer than men in general. So at some point, we're going to be responsible for these decisions on our own. And we don't want to be taken advantage of. We want to make good choices. Those life things that happened kind of catapulted me into this industry and learning. And then the more I dug into, what does money really do? Not just on the surface level, not just what traditional finance teaches you. What are the other rules of the game that some people know that I don't know? So that's where my practice and really strategy and philosophy on money started to evolve over time, why I focus so much on taxes and things like that. But the narrative that I had believed for so long was, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. We're not on the street, but we don't have a lot of money. I'm a financial burden because we're expensive. I saw the stress with money. And so I believed I don't deserve, I'm not worthy, all the things that are common for women specifically to believe. So I had a lot of money trash stories that I just had to purge, and it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, it's all a work in progress to shed those old beliefs, right?
And a lot of things that you teach too about women and their energy and their overall health, like mind, body, spirit. You have to do that to have a good relationship with money. You can't see yourself negatively, hate who you are, have all of this trapped bad energy, and have a really good relationship with money. Those two things really don't go together.
Yeah, some of the work that I was doing just around my business, like I've been successful in the past, and like just a lot of doubts. Can I be successful in this new venture? And am I worthy of that success? And that comes back to, right, some like on subconscious level that I don't think I can, even though I'm like, yeah, I know I can. I know I can. And that probably stems from some of the things we've been taught or how I've been disconnected. Even though I'm in the industry, I was in the industry, right? And I felt like I have a lot of understanding of all the things. But even being in the industry, there's still so many things that I'm not confident in.
And I think for other women to know that it's not just you. Most women in general feel that way, whether it's because their experience with money growing up, what they saw. For many of us, our generation of parents, they did their best, but they only knew what they knew. And so a lot of the baggage and just negative things around money specifically kind of just leached on to us. And now, a lot of us are in this purging and realignment of who we are and how we see ourselves and changing all of our stories that include money and how we see it. But all that has to happen. I mean, I am a big believer that if you don't think you deserve or you think that there's never enough money, that's what the universe will
It's
show
never
you.
gonna be enough.
And that's terrible because that is where so many of us are stuck in because that's what we believe. And so we just see it manifest in our lives. I see myself and how I view money as a good combination of the energetic, what some people would call like, woo, out there space. You need to have alignment and a good relationship with things like money, energy, all of that. But then there are strategies that once you learn them, just show you how to be more resourceful and
Yeah.
efficient with what you have.
So can we talk about planning?
Mhm.
And I think that can be one of its greatest gifts. So if you're planning for something for the future, or even like you have children and
Mhm.
start saving for, say, college, or you're going to start saving for your own retirement. I'll say, as much as I sometimes doubt my skills, I planned for what I'm in right now years ago. And
Mhm.
because of that, I have way more runway than I would have had I just, decided, okay, I'm going to start saving now. I just started putting money aside. And it was a conversation between my husband and I, and just said, this is not going to the household. Portion of it will go to our household. The other portion is going to go to my dream, if it ever happens.
Oh, I
And
love that.
that's why I'm able to, like I said, have the runway. So can we talk about that? Like planning for yourself, planning for your children, what that looks like.
So everybody's plan is going to look different, but there are key questions that if we all ask ourselves, we can start to come up with a plan, at least the first several steps of it. So I'm a big values-based person. What are your values and what does that mean you need in resources to have that, whether it's time freedom, or one of the greatest gifts I can give my children is them not having the financial burden of a higher education, whatever it is. And then I have some parents that say, that's not one of my values. I want to be
And
able
that's
to support
okay,
them. Right.
because everyone is different. Yeah.
There's generally no right or wrong. There is just preferences and then more efficient ways. And that's what I tell people, like, oh, when I start showing them things, they're like, oh, why doesn't everybody do this? Or why haven't I seen this? And I said, well, a lot of traditional finance doesn't show you these things. And two, we all get a choice. So once you understand what your options are, then you can make good choices. But it starts with knowing what you want. And I think for women, that's also hard too. We're thinking about what our kids want, what our spouse wants, what our friends want. And sometimes when we go through it, we're like, I don't know what to write. What do I actually want? Most of us want a feeling. We want to feel secure. We want to feel joy. We want to feel, for a lot of women, control. Sometimes asking people what some of their favorite things are in life and what they felt then we can start to deduce, okay, well, this is what you want to be able to do in your life. And then I can help you figure out the financial side of what you need to do today to get there. But most people are just looking for a feeling, emotions. The hard part is looking at what's going out of your household. That is painful, I will say, but it's almost like having a injury and you're just bleeding. You're like, I'm just not going to look at it. I don't want to look at it and then see how painful it is. That's kind of how money is. You have to take the bandage off, see what is actually going on, and then you know exactly how to treat it and make it better. It's painful, I know. And when people go through budgets, they're like, man, am I really spending this much? And sometimes it is just on regular life things, but it starts there. Clarity on what is coming in, what hits my bank account, what is leaving, and what's the difference between those two numbers, positive or negative. Because some people will say, I don't know how this credit card debt happened. Usually it's because there's a deficit on what's coming in and what's going out. And when you find that out, now we can start to change things. By the way, I'm also not a believer that all debt is bad. I am actually the opposite of that. Usually I'm using debt to its fullest ability to build wealth. So I'm not scared of debt. It's just a matter of the right debt and moving it around. So once you do that, many times we can uncover, you know what, this payment I'm making towards the credit card, it's going towards interest. It's not even really touching my balance. Okay, let's restructure that debt. Now we saved you $200 a month. We're going to pay your debt off faster. What are we going to do with that 200? Does it make sense to put extra towards the debt or invest? Usually anything above a 10% interest rate, many times it makes
On
sense
a
to
credit
just,
card, which is literally every credit card right now.
right.
It's
Yeah.
so horrible.
Usually it makes sense to address debt first and then start your investment building journey. But the key is that extra money you're putting towards the debt, you just keep that habit. And when that debt gets paid off, you move that.
Yeah.
Yes, it still requires discipline, but it's looking at money, what's coming in, what's going out. You may find, you know what, I technically do have a surplus. There's extra money here. So then it's a question of, okay, what's the next big thing coming up for me? Am I looking to buy a house? Do I want to buy an investment property? Is kids' college and planning for them top of my list?
Yeah. Goes back to those values, right?
Yeah, you have to know them in order to know where to put your money.
Yeah. And what your priorities are
Yeah, because
within
there's
those
only a place to put money. So outlining your values, figuring out what are my resources. Usually there is a way to find money to save, invest, or pay off debt faster. And then sometimes it's looking at what resources do I have available right now? Do I have any savings? Do I have any cushion? Because that is important because life things do happen. People lose
Yeah,
jobs.
it's going to be one of my questions. Yeah.
People get sick, they're out of work. I mean, we've all seen that. Many of us have experienced it. So that cushion for you, if you are we're running lean. What comes in is leaving for bills and there is no cushion. The first thing I look at is if you have a home, get a no cost home equity line of credit. It's like having a credit card against your house. Where if horrible things happen, that line of credit is open. You don't want to use it, but it's there if you do while you're building your emergency savings. So that's kind of gives you that buffer so that you don't have to use a 29% credit card when something bad happens.
Yeah.
So there's things like that that we can implement that help you on the journey. It will not happen overnight, but it will happen. So when you can see the end result, that gives you motivation. Like if travel was one of your big values, creating memories through travel. To me, that might change my lens when I spend. I might say, you know what? All I can see is walking with my kids, showing them things in Greece or wherever. Like that is going to light me up. Now some of these little piddly things, I'm like, that doesn't really light me up.
Because those piddly things actually add up, right? And that $500 a month maybe on those piddly things, which is, I mean,
Yes.
that the exercise you talked about really being honest with yourself and seeing where you're spending money is eye-opening. And it is like hiding a bloody bandage. Like a lot of people don't want to look at it because it is ugly. And it's ugly because it's maybe behaviors you contributed towards. So I feel like there could be shame associated with that, but it is like so important to open up that bandage and really dig in because once you start addressing the wound, the bleeding actually stops.
And there is no one, I think we all imagine this hypothetical person that's judging us and saying, you open that up, I'm going to see everything that you've been doing and the bad choices you've been making. That person doesn't exist. If you think your parents going to, whatever, they're irrelevant. Okay. Like this is your life. You get to make decisions and you may pull back that bandage and say, you know what? I'm fine spending this and I'm fine living a very minimal retirement with a tiny bit of savings and a little bit of Social Security. I would rather be making these choices now. You get to decide that. Like there is no person saying you are wrong. This is right. You choose. And many people would choose to have a little bit more freedom, more money later on. So that means it changes how they live now, but that doesn't have to be you. You might say, I'm keeping things the way they are, but I know what's on the other side of that decision and I'm okay with that. That's our choice to make. You remove the shame. We're judging ourselves. Okay, so it's take out this hypothetical person that's judging us. We look at it, see it for what it is and decide, do I like this? Do I like the outcome? And if I don't like the outcome, I can change it.
So if someone's overwhelmed, is that what you're saying? The first step is to evaluate the money coming in and the money going out and where it's going out and what aligns with your values and what doesn't.
Correct.
So if I'm like very overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't know, Leah, I'm just coming into your office and I'm like, I don't even know where to go. That's what you're going to say. First thing, let's look at what's coming in, what's coming out. And are we fully aware?
Sometimes the path of least resistance allows you to make a move. So clarity on where your money's going. Get the Monarch app. I think it's $4. Plug things in to give you data immediately.
Yeah.
Because sometimes for that, For moms, I mean, there are some things that I need to do that I've been putting on the back burner where I'm just like, I actually have to go to the post office. I don't have time for that. That's sometimes why we don't do things too, because moms are so stretched so thin.
Yeah.
So plug your things in, automate it, get a system that gives you the numbers like that. I have no tie to Monarch, but I just like the tool. It's efficient. Some people like the you need a budget. That's another one where you connect to your accounts and it tells you these are the sectors. This is where you're spending. This is what you did last month, this month. And there you go. You've got the data. And now you can decide, is this in line with my values or not? So make it easy. Do not make this a whole Saturday. Let me pull out bills. Screw that. I'm not going to do that either. Like, just make it simple. And from there, you can see, okay, well, this is saying I should have this much money left over, or this is saying I'm at a deficit. So that's why my credit card balances are going up. And then from there, you can say the things that I'm spending money on, is this directly in line with my life values and where I want my future to go?
What's your best budget tool? Is it Monarch? Say you do that, everything you just said. Then I say, okay, here's what's coming in. I know what's going out. I maybe get rid of some of these subscription things, which just maybe a note to everyone. If you have an iPhone and you go into, I forget the exact instructions, but you go to where you purchase apps, you can see every app you've purchased. I saved probably $500-$600 because there were apps that one day I had just signed up for. And guess what? I just kept getting charged. And I never looked at my statements. So then, I mean, and they do that on purpose, by the way. But you go in and you can see,
Yes. Or sign up, get 10% off.
I'm not using this. I'm spending, and it's menial. It's like $4 a month or something that it never really set the alarm off when I looked high level at my statements. But then 4 times, it was 3 years I was paying something. It added up.
I'm guilty too.
What if I then figure out how much I should be spending, right? If I am like coming in this much, but I realize I'm spending way too much money on food outside my house, like, is there a budgeting tool that can give you a warning sign? Hey, Diana, you bought too much, Chipotle.
There are 3. You need a budget is one of them. Monarch, and then Rocket Money is great because it will also identify these subscriptions, and if you get a permission, I think it will cancel them for you. So those top 3, Rocket Money, Monarch, you need a budget. Some people like the visuals of ones better than others. All of them are inexpensive. So I would pick one of those, plug your information in. I mean, and you connect your accounts, you connect your checking, savings, credit card so that it can see the flow of money. And now you have clarity very quickly. And all this arduous work of going through credit card, I mean, it's just going to do it for you. So don't make this a time-consuming thing.
Yeah, automate it to your point. Make it a system, because your system, your effort that you have to put in is actually just going in to review it versus having to set it up and reconcile and do all the things.
It's same thing with automating savings. Just like if I signed up for a subscription and I forgot I had it, got babies coming out and I don't even realize it. Same thing with savings. Obviously, if $5,000 is coming out of it, I'm going to notice that. But a small savings amount that okay, I can still pay the mortgage. I can still do all these other things. Just automate it. Don't make yourself physically have to do it, because then we're not going to do it. Same thing, like I physically have to go to the post office to mail 2 packages. That's why I haven't done it.
My laundry, on top of my laundry, is all my Amazon returns.
Right. Yeah. So because of technology, it allows us to be so much more efficient. So I say use it to our benefit, even if it is one of those apps where, okay, say I do decide to go get Starbucks. Fine. No shame. I decided to do it. But I also bought a fractional share or Acorns, or just, there are so many different.
You said Acorns a few times. What is Acorns?
Every time you spend $1, there's a couple different versions. Some, it will round up to the next dollar and put the difference in a savings account. And then other ones, it'll put the difference when it rounds up into an investment. Just automation. It makes your life simple. It is less brain space that it's taking up, because that's the other reason we don't address things is we're maxed out. There's nothing left up here to allocate. So take as little time and energy as possible, but also recognize that some of these decisions can radically change your life. So that the importance to
such small, minuscule things too, though, that can add up. And they use a term compounding, right, in the finance industry. But if you just put in savings like $50, $75 a week, a month, you forget about that. And over time, that has grown. Not significantly because it's sitting in your savings, but it's money that is there. in case you have an emergency.
And something else to look at while we're talking about bills, expenses, one of the biggest bills we all have is taxes. So while none of us love to pay them,
Who does?
but society we live in, that's something else. When you look at your paycheck stub, and I say this knowing that everybody's going to think an amount that you pay for taxes is going to have a different definition of what's a lot. But that's another reason why I look so much at the tax side, whether you're self-employed or not, is when you start to do well in life, what's actually hitting your bank account after you pay taxes can be a very small number. So when you're at a certain level and you feel like, God, we're working so hard and we make great money, why is there nothing left? That could be an opportunity for you as well, being able to recapture money once going to the IRS. And there's some pretty cool strategies that you can use. That to me is such a big opportunity because that is your money, and immediately you could increase your opportunity and build wealth faster by using a few strategies.
And that's honestly just a plug for financial advisors, or that's why you go to the experts, right? Because I can download Acorn or Monarch, but I certainly cannot know those strategies, figure out what's best for my family. And that's why I think it's always really good to connect with an expert if that is something that you're in a position to do, because it makes so much sense. And it's made such a world of a difference for my husband and I, and even my mother-in-law.
And you find your person. That's why there's so many people. I know I am very different, and I am not going to be the right fit for everybody. I know that. And people say, like, you're really different. You find the person that has the skill you're looking for and someone that you really enjoy talking with, because you're going to feel like you're getting undressed in front of them when you talk about money. That's how it feels. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so vulnerable. So you've got to really like them. Trust them, enjoy talking with them. So if a person doesn't check both those boxes, you got to find somebody else. They may be super smart, but you're like, oh, I just don't like them. I'm not comfortable with them. That's not your person. So, and there's no offense. That's why there's many people in the industry. So women are, we can be very disciplined. Women are really good at business. And so it's almost like you put a different pair of glasses on. You see the world, especially the money lens, completely different. And immediately you see these opportunities that you never saw before, simply because you decided to make one step, look at the bloody bandage, address it. And it has this snowball effect where you start to not only feel differently about money, but when you start to feel differently, your choices change. The change in choices changes your situation, and your future looks totally different.
Yeah. And you're empowered, right?
You feel so good. It changes everything.
And then you shift not only your relationship with money, but your kids' relationship that they'll have with people.
And what a gift that you could give your kids. I mean, I know we all want our children to have better lives than we had. So give them this. All of us said, if I had started saving, if I had done this at 21 years old, okay, well, we can't go back to 21, but you could help your kids.
Yeah.
And we also have to do this because a lot of us are thinking about parents. Well, we need to take care of them. What's the added expense or time that's needed? So that's another reason you want to be financially strong, is you want to know that you can show up for the people that are really important to you in your life, whether that's your parents, your children. And in order for you to be able to show up, you have to be in a good position yourself. And you can't do that when you're bleeding out.
Well, so much great advice. If anyone was to take anything away from today's conversation, what's the one piece of advice you'd want them to sort of pinpoint on their desk and look at and start with?
If you're unsure of where money is going, I would start to embody this new position that you see yourself in. You are now the controller of money. So just almost visualize money was just flowing out, just leaving your bank account. I am now going to step into this position where I directed exactly where to go. And one of the tools I'm going to use to do that, I'm going to get it now. Whether that's Monarch, you need a budget, Rocket Money. I would start there and see yourself as, I am the director. I am not the victim of money. I am directing it exactly where I want it to go. And then write down, even if it's just 3 things, what's important to you that ties into money. Whether it's, you know what, I'm working so hard. I just want more time. I want to create more memories. Okay, then that's a value. You have to have at least a few values written down so that when you see the data on the app, you can connect those two and say, are these aligned or not? So that is the first thing. And then I would write down what you believe about money, because think of it as just energy. Energy just transfers. That's why they say the rich just get richer. Even with the stimulus checks, did people get rich when they got stimulus checks? No, the money ultimately ended up back in the hands of ultra wealthy. And that's how it will always happen if you play the same game that you always have. So just know that, but know that there is a way out. There's a rule book that you can read and start playing the game differently. But it starts with knowing what you have and what is important to you, deciding those first. And then this will not happen overnight, but you will see change fast. I think women just have this great opportunity to become owners and directors and believe, like, I am born with these gifts. I am born with things that allow me to build and create. And I haven't been using them, but I'm going to start.
I love that.
That would be my encouragement.
And if anyone wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
A couple different ways. You can connect. A lot of people go to my website. There's a little bit of my story and some resources and calculators. So if you want to just get different calculations on things, you can go there. It's www.savvy with 2 V's financialllc.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. My email is leah@savvyfinancialllc.com. So happy to connect. I always start with an introduction call just to learn more about you. And it may be I can just give you some initial direction, and it might not make sense to work together, but I can give you some advice and where to go. So always happy to help share information and start to change the story, especially for women. Men need help too, but especially for women.
Well, thank you, Leah, so much for sharing your wisdom today and for reminding us that money doesn't have to feel heavy, intimidating, or overwhelming. When we approach it with intention, education, and simple systems like all those apps we talked about, it becomes something that can support us quietly and consistently through every season of life. Thank you for being here with me on Women's Wellness Authority. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to share it with someone who might need permission to see money differently and feel more confident stepping into it. Following the show on YouTube or your favorite listening platform helps me continue building this community, and I'm so grateful for every woman who chooses to be part of it. And if you have a moment to leave a review or rate this episode, it helps more women discover the space and feel supported. So until next time, stay grounded, stay intentional, and most of all, stay well. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Leah.
Thank you, Diana, so much.
Leah Williams is a registered representative of securities and investment advisory services offered through Horner, Townsend & Kent LLC. Registered investment advisor member FINRA/SIPC. Call 1-800-873-7637. or visit www.htk.com. Savvy Financial is unaffiliated with HTK. HTK does not offer tax or legal advice. Always consult a qualified advisor regarding your individual circumstances. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Women's Wellness Authority. If today's conversation inspired you, shifted your perspective, or sparked something within you, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might need it the most. Have a story of your own or something you'd like to share? I'd love to hear from you. You can connect with me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Women's Wellness Authority. Please note the content shared on this podcast is for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider regarding your health and wellness decisions. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and most of all, stay well. Thanks, everyone.